Posy Simmonds is to the top-of-the-range British comic strip what Gary Trudeau is to the American equivalent, the exalted benchmark. But Posy's world is a long way from Doonesbury and far closer to Bloomsbury, although she would be quick to point out that she's more interested in the socially aspiring than in the socially secure. The British genteel would-be intelligentsia, with all its nervous self-confidence and all its lonely self-doubt, is one of her best areas. Her knack for overheard dialogue has led some scientists to contend that her ears revolve and go beep-beep. But perhaps I, like so many writers, praise her words because we don't know how to praise her pictures. Her uncanny graphic skill, with whole states of mind conveyed by a dot and a stroke, is beyond us. How does she do that?
There are so many angles from which one could talk about what you achieve, but the first thing I'd say is it takes a lot of achieving. It's technical. You have to really be able to draw a bit. In fact, you have to be able to draw a lot. Was there ever a day you couldn't draw? Let's start there.
Well, obviously, when I was 1 and 2,
When you were 1 and 2, it's not all that obvious.
It's
you
not,
you
but
give the impression you were born doing it.
Certainly, when I was 3, I was drawing a great deal, and 4 and 5 and onwards, it was my best. It was my best thing.
Your best subject?
Yes. Yeah, it was the thing. I had lots of brothers, and really, if you're a girl with lots of brothers, you're absolutely pathetic at most things, except I could draw.
You could draw the pants off them?
Yes.
Did you have a genteel upbringing?
I suppose it was. I did go to a very nice school.
Which nice school was that? Nice. So I like the way you say nice school.
It was Queen Anne's,
Queen Anne.
Caversham, motto, quietness and strength.
Quietness and strength.
Yes.
Both those things.
Both those things. A lot of chapel, and Latin, and cricket, and I was in the first team cricket.
First team?
Because I had brothers. They taught me to bowl googlies and tweakers. Slow left arm.
Second team would have been social death.
No, you meant...
First team cricket at Queen Anne's School. Yeah. Was there a sort of French finishing school in the picture?
There was being sent to France to learn to get French polish, but actually I ended up going to the Sorbonne and doing art rather seriously, which my parents were very nice about it, and then said, all right, go on and do it. And so then I did 4 years at art school.
There's a great French tradition of the, what do they call the illustrated book? The bande dessinée.
Bande dessinée.
It's very easy to mispronounce it into something terrible, like a tattooed erection, isn't it? Have I said it right?
I think you have, yes.
I know your French is very, very good.
It's in patches, it's fine.
Well, it's getting me into an area that I'm very, very keen on, and that area is language. You've got a terrific ear as well as a terrific eye. And did that start with Latin? Did Latin give you your foundation?
Latin, I loved Latin. It was the only thing I was really good at. It was like kind of opened, yes, knowing how to construct the language. I don't know how to pronounce it, because you didn't. You sort of went mensar, mensar, mensam, mensai, mensai, mensas, etc. But no, I really like. Also, you could write to boys in Latin from this school, because we weren't really allowed to write to boys. But if you wrote to them in Latin, nobody could really understand what you were saying. And so you'd look up things, like to make a date, you'd do things like fortasse, perhaps, videbo, I shall see you, in Londinium, in London.
That'll fool them.
That'll fool them. And then you put XX1V,
fortasse, videbo.
Videbo.
In Londinium.
And then you'd crib things out of a few Latin poets, just sort of fruity bits like...
Catullus and...
Yes, utinam redires, nunquam te video quin delecta. I never see you without being delighted. Flow my hot tears, my loins...
Your loins?
Yes, we did all that. So you could put that in letters.
Four, as they say in Latin. They actually got a word for that, haven't you?
Eheu, yeah, eheu. Yeah.
So did it work? Did you meet the guy in London?
No, no. They never wrote back.
I think I learned a bit of Catullus. I learned a bit about give me 1,000 kisses. Dami Basia Mille.
Ooh,
Yeah,
go on.
I can do it too, but
can
not the
do
way
it
you
too.
can. All the writers admire you. You know this, don't you?
Oh.
All the novelists think that Posy, you've got them outclassed because you've got these radar-like ears.
I don't know.
Do you take notes?
I take kind of sometimes sound notes, like the other day. I love the way Australians say no.
No.
Well,
I can't
Australian women,
Yes.
they go, no.
That's very good. That's Melbourne, actually.
Is
usually.
it?
Yeah.
Is it Melbourne? No.
Yeah.
And it's as though no is open to debate, as though you know, it's not quite no. No. It's kind of quite...
So would you take a sort of phonetic
Yes,
note of
I
that?
do a little...
But the notes you take on English social dialogue, I mean, you must be hearing this. You must be drifting among people and picking it up. Or else you're reading minds.
I do. I mean, a lot of it is obviously just made up at home, but I've got teenagers in part of the thing I'm doing at the moment, and so I've been using my bus pass a lot and going on the bus when the schools...
This is Tamara Drew, which is the perennial Posy story of sexual havoc being caused by a beauty. But I love your teenagers, and you've actually been following the teenagers on the bus. I was wondering where you're getting their dialogue from. It's all because they make new stuff up all the time, and you're ahead of the game. You're the first one with this stuff. Yes,
but a lot of it I don't understand. I mean, they talk very loudly, so I'm not eavesdropping or anything. They're you know, you can be 5 rows ahead, and they're going, oh, do you know what he said? Oh, or you know, what did he do? And they say, oh, well, nothing much. Go on, what did he do? And then, does anybody know what this means? One of them said, he patted the dog through the letterbox. What does that mean?
Well, one thing we can be sure of, it doesn't mean he patted the dog through the letterbox.
No, exactly. What does it mean?
I think I know.
Perhaps we should talk about squirrels.
I think we can't talk about it now.
No, I think we should talk about squirrels.
Squirrels, yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're filthy, the girls, aren't they?
They're very filthy, but probably not. But their language is certainly very
sex obsessed.
Sex obsessed, very filthy.
Were you at that age? You were in more refined circumstances. But
well, certainly, we didn't swear to that extent.
Not in Latin, perhaps.
In Latin, perhaps. And we didn't know much. I mean, we didn't, certainly, they're, 14, 15-year-olds, we certainly didn't know that,
Yes.
Maybe...
I had a conversation with you once that went in a very unexpected area because I revealed that I was a champion petomane at school.
Oh, right.
And petomane,
I don't know where this is leading.
Well, it's leading directly to the fact that I was a world champion farter when I was at school. I could fart at will, and I revealed this fact to you. Yes. And it turned out that you were an expert on the subject. And you could distinguish between various kinds of gaseous explosion.
It wasn't so much the gas, it was more the timbre.
The timbre.
It was more if it was a cushion creeper or a
cushion creeper.
Or an onion bumble or a...
Well, let's start with the cushion creeper. It's a surreptitious one, is it?
Yes.
I have to know this.
Yes. Yes. And
the onion bumble.
The onion bumble is a rather obvious one. It's
I'll bet it is.
It's a sort of seat warmer. And
were you and the other girls talking about this stuff?
Yes, we certainly were.
Yes.
And there was one called...
There was one called the Triff, wasn't there?
The Triff and the Trump, yes. They were little sort of...
The Triff... This is a first, folks. We've got very high fidelity sound. We've got that.
Oh, dear.
What does the Trump do? The Trump is a...
Oh, hang on. I can't do it.
That's a trump.
Yeah, it's a trump.
It's like an animal in pain.
Yes.
Well, I think we've established that you, at that age, in your highly refined circumstances, were at least as adventurous as these teenagers you're unleashing on us in Tamara Drew. But they want to be sophisticated, these kids.
Yes, I think so. A lot of it's bravado, like we all did.
This involves a lot of noticing on your part.
Yes. I mean, they know, it's interesting that some children now, you ask them, name 5 wildflowers. Can't, but they can recite 14 pizzas, names of 14 pizzas. So their knowledge is quite specialist,
Well,
or useful, or maybe applied. It's more applied.
Well, there'd be no vague version of your work, for example. There couldn't be a blurry outline version of what Posy does. It's all very precisely notated.
I want it to be true, no matter for there to be a grain of truth in it. It doesn't matter what, you can dress it up in all kinds of stuff and you can distort things. But I quite like it when you get a letter which said, oh, that's, or how did you know?
But they don't really know what's going on in tomorrow's world. And you've got a drama going where one of them is getting into tomorrow's world because she's just getting old enough for one of Tamara's boyfriends to be interested in her. It's a possibility, isn't it?
It's a possibility. Right.
Teenage sexuality.
Mm.
I want to talk about sexuality. I always want to talk about sexuality. I particularly want to talk about it to you because some of your major works...
I'm getting very nervous.
I'll bet you are,
yes.
because some of your major works revolve around it. Come on, you're the person who invented Gemma Bovary. Some might say that Flaubert invented Emma Bovary, but you invented Gemma.
Well, Flaubert did all the hard work as far as I'm concerned.
So who was Gemma?
Gemma was obviously a figment. I thought she had to do I thought she must have read a lot of magazines and things like that, so I made her a dentist's daughter. I thought she would have spent a long time in... And
the original Emma, of course, it was sentimental novels that did for her.
Yes.
So your Gemma reads magazines?
She reads magazines and is always changing her cushions and remodelling things.
But she's a knockout, isn't she?
Yes.
Here we are.
That's her.
Now, this is her before.
Yes, that's before and after. Before before she goes to France, in other words, she's someone who doesn't wax much, obviously has been nowhere. You look horrified.
No, it's the word wax that did it.
Oh, wax. Well, she doesn't shave her legs, perhaps I should say.
Yeah.
Doesn't go to nail bars. She's got split ends, and she's probably got one of those rather droopy Marks and Sparks summer dresses that kind of... and she's got probably lots of mosquito bites because it's the summer. After she's been in France, she changes into a creature who, at the time I started it, Princess Diana was alive. And so that is actually Princess Diana's suit.
I did notice in the notebook that Princess Diana's face creeps into you. You get a page of various faces that are obviously going to combine into Gemma or Tamara or something like that.
Yes.
And there's Diana.
Well, usually I draw, or quite often, I draw dots for eyes. But with Gemma, I wanted her to look out of the side of her eyes, or to do that thing that Diana did of looking sort of up. And
that on television look, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but this is Gemma transformed here. Now, what has she done to us? Because the same girl.
It's the same girl. So she's in a rather 90s suit, it has to be said, but
slightly power shoulder.
Yes, partly short, and a leather skirt and black tights, and she only got one foot, it looks.
But now she's now licensed to kill.
Yes, she's.
Can I just show you this? Now this is Gemma, isn't it?
Yes. This is before I wrote anything of the story, but it was really. It's in a way it's like drawing a film. So this was doing. Props, costume, and kind of her character. So I didn't know really what she looked like, except she'd wear that kind of underwear, she'd go shopping, she'd have a leather skirt. So it's kind of just testing to see what...
There's the big eyes, and she's looking out at the top.
Yes.
And here the look in her eyes means mischief, doesn't it? Is it not?
Yes.
You're drawing something sexy.
In a way, yes, but then it is just a drawing. I mean, it's like drawing a film, as I said before. Except, of course, you don't get to, as a director, you don't get to sleep with the cast. But yes, you do get kind of involved, and
Mind you, a male can get involved with a plastic mannequin in a shop window.
Yes.
Because the fantasy is sort of reductionist. It'll go on a very simple set of cues, and a drawing will do it. But Tamara, like Gemma Bovary, is mighty, mighty attractive.
Well, I'm glad you say that.
Well, it's a constant theme. It's the havoc wrought by female beauty. Male beauty, not so much. Although some of your men are gorgeous, and I'm sure women think so. But the power of the beautiful young woman to transform the life of the entire district is something that you're using in Tamara Drew.
Yes.
And Tamara just has to stand there, and she wrecks the lives of everyone for 100 miles around. It's
yes,
the truth.
I've got slight problems with her. I have to say that when I come to do the book, there's because I've done this as a serial, and a lot of it's been done on the trot. I keep getting to the bits where I go, damn, I wish I'd said that before. So when it's a book, there's going to be a bit of back stuff.
So does the character decide what happens next when you're doing this?
Yes, often. I mean, in Gemma Bovary, I write out the plot, having cast it in a way and dressed them. I then write the plot, and that's the model. And then I write, and in Gemma I was only about 2 weeks ahead. So then you'd get to a bit where, okay, Gemma, I'm afraid you've got to commit suicide in about 4 episodes, and that was what it was written. When I got to it, she refused to do it. Her character had sort of changed, and I've done episodes where she actually does take an overdose, and she sits up and says, "This is awful." I mean, metaphorically, she wouldn't. I kept saying "die," and she wouldn't do it. So then I realised it had to be an accident that killed her.
So are there technical developments that make the kind of work you do more and more possible? There's a heck of a lot in your frames, and it gets onto the page. There would have been a day when you couldn't. It just would have been all black ink.
But before doing a strip every week, which is a page, that was manageable. You knew how to do it. You knew it was horizontal in 3 layers. You knew by the end of the second layer on the right, you knew that was where it turned. It had a rhythm, and then the bottom layer was, and there was the punch. It had a rhythm, and you got into that rhythm, and you could do it. Doing a serial, and don't try this at home, because you work every weekend. You don't sleep very well because you wake up going, how am I going to get this person out of this? I'm only a few episodes ahead. If you get flu or a toothache, no, you don't get them. It's living quite dangerously on the edge of your chair. If I had any sense, I'd just do it as a book.
Well, this is the rudest question I've asked all night, and it's a great risk.
Yes.
But is there such a thing as a cheap frame? Is there such a thing? I'll just have her left shoulder, and there's nothing else in the picture,
yes.
And that's that one done for today.
Yes, you do a close-up. You do a big close-up of a face, and or you can sometimes do a car kind of with a car, and then the conversation bubbles coming out of the car, so you don't have to do the and the fingers and all the stuff. That's a cop-out.
Does colour make it harder?
Yes, much harder. I much preferred it in black and white. Yeah. Partly because it had a nicer texture. It was like a black and white film.
More colourful, some people say.
Or more yes, and the colour. There's particularly if you do flesh colour on. I've made their faces white because if you do flesh colour, they become like pink marzipan or pink. It's kind of weird. It deadens it.
The current generation has quite a lot of trouble getting into drawing school because nobody wants to teach drawing. They want to teach you to write essays about structuralism or some such garbage. So is there a danger that it will all die out?
Yes, it will. The people who can teach drawing, where is the generation now to teach them? Because, I mean, my generation, we were taught drawing in a way like we were taught Latin some of it was quite boring. You did plaster casts, you did drapery dipped in plaster, and you drew it for ages. You did life classes, you did sinews and everything. It was like learning grammar. I mean, it was a bore, but after a bit, you learnt how to draw like you drew, like learning a language, yes. speaking an idiom. I think but apart from that, I think learning to draw is it's a discipline. It teaches you to look, and it teaches you to understand so much about life. And even people who say they can't draw can actually be taught to draw to please themselves. Like you can teach someone to play the piano to have a really nice time.
At any age? Have I got a chance? Can I start now?
Absolutely.
I would get better, but would I get any good?
You would get better, because the more you do it, the better you get. The more you're, it's all, hand-eye and stuff, but the more, when you first start drawing, or like that, and when you've done it a lot, and you've made a lot of awful drawings, your hand loosens up, and, you suddenly do that. Blimey, I did that.
There's a school of thought, it's got some powerful evidence to say that there's such a thing as academic painting, and it's boring. It's accurate, and it's worthy, and accomplished, and not very interesting.
Well, because mainly it's parodies, or it tries to do what's already been done and better by, Manet or Monet or
Manet or Monet or one of those.
Yes, it's very difficult.
Anyway, I don't find it as uninteresting as I find the totally unaccomplished, abstract, not abstract's the wrong word.
Conceptual. You think conceptual?
There are interesting abstract painting. Kandinsky is a great painter.
Kandinsky is a
conceptual painting doesn't interest me at all. If it's just an idea, why would I have it in the house?
Well, there are ideas and ideas, but most of them you feel like saying, go and read some poetry, because actually what you're saying is that, if it was poetry, it would be just trite stuff you'd read a million times.
There's plenty of poetry like that.
There's plenty of poetry like that, but because it's some huge thing that takes a whole room, and there's a kind of, plastic drain pipe, and it's one idea, and you think, when it's a good idea, it was like everything. In a way, it's more like jokes. Jokes, if a joke is very, very good, you want to tell everybody, and you repeat them. That's a great, great joke. But a lot of conceptual stuff is like bad jokes. You go, oh, duh, we'll get that, oh, yeah.
Do you get outraged when a lot of attention is paid to artists who really haven't got that much to say, that much accomplishment? I mean, do you get outraged on behalf of your genre, which is very, very hard to do and very fruitful, and God knows people love it. They can't live without your stuff. Shouldn't it sort of rank higher, or does it rank high enough for you?
I think it doesn't rank very high in this country, because it's coming along people who do bande dessinée in France, for instance, it's now the 9th art. It's taken very, very seriously, and you're on a plane with, directors, auteur and everything like that. I think it's another way of telling a story.
But in Britain, there's always a long tradition of keep them down, and
comics have traditionally been for people who can't read very well, or for children. Well, in this country, for children.
But it's just so fruitful the way you do it. Surely a whole new generation will arrive who want to do it, but they're not going.
I think they will, because I think the culture's just got much more visual, and if you look at most magazines now, they are kind of bande dessinée. There's a little bit of text and some pickies, all jumbled up, and everything is kind of split screen. Even serious newspapers have much more visual content.
Do you study styles and periods and architecture and things?
Yes, I try to get things right. I'm very bad at trains. There's always some smart ass that you do a train, you think, I got that. Some smart ass writes, I'm sorry, on the southern region you wouldn't have got that sort of carriage, or
what do you say to him? Get a life.
To get a life. So I'm rather shy sometimes.
But you're actually very good on machines. Your TV set from the back, for example, looks like a TV set from the back, and all that.
Yeah, well, I chicken out sometimes, and you can say it was foggy, or it was behind a hedge, or she couldn't see it.
It's a a phrase I think Raymond Chandler once used, you've got to have a sense of the country behind the hill. And when you're doing a country village, which is one of your favourite settings, especially for writers' communities and things like that, you do get the sense that you know the rents of each house and what gets grown and where people go shopping and so on. Do you live there? Have you lived in these places?
I've lived a bit in Cornwall, but it's a bit unlike where I based this. Where I did do my researches, I went on a kind of recce and went into gastropubs and went. Yes, I went to a literary evening in a bookshop, which I reproduced. Oh, sort of, which was full of people talking about their. My husband always takes me on one blue sky holiday, especially at Christmas, and things like that. They were very sort of middle class.
And that goes in one ear and it stays, huh?
And some of it, yes. Yeah. Mostly it does. Yes.
Do you ever get people looking at you sideways thinking she's listening?
More staring. Will you stop staring at me? And that's and you have to pretend you were looking at. Well, I'm usually more out front by that because I'll be drawing, so it looks as though I'm drawing But they do say, "Will you stop looking at me?" And it is rude.
I think so much of your work, and it's fascinating to hear you helping me analyse it.
Well, I've enjoyed it very, very much.
Posy, thanks so much.
Thank you, Clive.